Vinny walks into that Alabama courtroom looking completely lost. The director who filmed every single one of those scenes held a law degree from Cambridge University and enforced legal accuracy on every take. These are 15 hidden details you completely missed in My Cousin Vinny. Number 15. Every viewer who has seen the yutes exchange in court assumes actor Joe Pesci made it up on the spot. He did not. During pre-production at the Mayflower Hotel in Manhattan, Pesci said the phrase, and director Jonathan Lynn, an Englishman, genuinely could not understand what he had said. Pesci repeated it twice. Lynn wrote the exchange into the script verbatim before a single frame was shot. Watch the courtroom ute scene knowing every pause, every repetition, and every reaction was scripted from a real conversation that happened weeks earlier. According to the Lynn DVD commentary, what looks like Pesci improvising in the moment is a word-for-word transcription of a pre-production miscommunication. And the very next jail scene hides something even more controlled. Number 14. Vinny fans a deck of cards and convinces Bill he is a legitimate attorney in the jail meeting scene. And most viewers read it as a quick character beat. It is more than that. Lynn required no edits and no camera assistance for the sequence. Pesci learned the actual sleight of hand during production preparation and performed it live in one continuous unbroken shot. Lynn made the creative decision that the scene's entire authority depended on the audience unconsciously sensing no edit had rescued the moment. Watch the card sequence from beginning to end. The trick unfolds without a single cut. That precision extended to the morning Pesci arrived on set, the week after winning an award the studio was not expecting to see on film. Number 13. On March 25th, 1991, Pesci won Best Supporting Actor for Goodfellas at the Shrine Auditorium. The following morning, he flew directly from Los Angeles to the Georgia set. On the first take of the jail sleeping scene, Pesci placed the Oscar statuette on his chest as a practical joke. Lynn kept the take and submitted it to 20th Century Fox as that day's official dailies. A clean version replaced it in the final cut, but the joke take is documented. Watch the jail sleeping scene in the released film and notice how Pesci's arms rest across his chest, a position that mirrors how the statuette was actually cradled that morning. The courtroom accuracy behind all of it, however, came from a source no one on set expected. Number 12. Every courtroom procedure in the film looks and sounds correct in ways other legal comedies simply do not. The reason has nothing to do with Pesci or screenwriter Dale Launer consulting attorneys. Lynn completed an MA in law at Pembroke College, Cambridge, before pivoting to theater and co-creating the British political series Yes Minister. He told the ABA Journal that he gets irritated when films get legal procedure obviously wrong, and he imposed a production rule requiring every courtroom beat to be technically accurate. The bench layout, witness positioning, and objection handling in every trial scene reflect real Alabama Circuit Court specifications. Pause on any courtroom sequence and trace the structure. Every element matches documented procedural rules. That standard produced something no one on the production could have fully anticipated. Number 11. In 2019, then Chief Judge Merrick Garland of the D.C. Circuit opened a formal labor law opinion by writing that in 1992, Vincent Gambini taught a masterclass in cross-examination. Justice Antonin Scalia referenced the film from the bench during oral arguments. The ABA Journal ranked it third on its 25 greatest legal movies list in 2008, behind only To Kill a Mockingbird and 12 Angry Men. Judge Joseph F. Anderson Jr. argued that the film predicted the Supreme Court's 1999 Kumho Tire ruling on experiential expert testimony, the exact legal principle that Mona Lisa Vito embodies in her climactic testimony. Watch that tire scene and notice the direct examination structure. It follows the Kumho standard before that standard existed in written law. The studio nearly made sure that scene never existed at all. Number 10. Mona Lisa Vito is now one of the most quoted supporting characters in 1990s American comedy. Before filming, Fox president Roger Birnbaum pushed Launer to cut the character completely and reassign her testimony to Vinny. Launer refused. The same executive then required Launer to add a girlfriend complaint scene, which Launer strongly opposed. Rather than write the scene as passive frustration, Launer redirected the studio note into a confrontation driven entirely by Mona Lisa's energy and conviction, producing the biological clock sequence that became the character's defining moment. Watch that argument scene and notice it functions as the emotional peak of her entire arc. The character who earned that legal legacy was one executive decision away from disappearing. What replaced her in the prison sequences, however, was something even more unexpected. Number 9. The intake walk where Bill and Stan move through the jail corridor looks like controlled background chaos carefully staged for the camera. The prisoners jeering at them are not extras. Jail interiors were filmed at Lee Arundel State Prison in Alto, Georgia, in a wing adjacent to a high-security housing unit. The background figures are actual incarcerated individuals. Lynn made no changes to the environment for the cast. According to actor Mitchell Whitfield in an abnormal use interview, what was actually being shouted at him and Ralph Macchio during filming was far more intense than anything audible in the final cut. Watch Macchio and Whitfield's expressions during the intake walk. The discomfort in their faces is not performance. A different kind of real moment was also waiting just outside the cabin window. Number 8. The owl that stares through the cabin window at Vinny is one of the film's most frequently shared individual shots. Most viewers assume it was a trained animal. A real wild screech owl had settled near the filming location, and the production crew spent weeks conditioning it to tolerate activity on set. Immediately before the take, a handler placed a piece of meat in its beak so the bird would open its mouth on command. The screech sound heard on screen was added in post-production. Watch the owl's eye movement and beak opening in the cabin window scene. The shot that feels most like a carefully constructed visual effect is the moment the production controlled least. A far more controlled element in the film almost went in an entirely different direction. Number 7. Judge Haller registers throughout the trial as a figure of restrained authority and measured dignity. On his first day of filming, actor Fred Gwynne played the role broadly and theatrically, leaning toward the comedic exaggeration audiences associated with his most recognized character. Lynn quietly redirected him scene by scene toward understatement. The physical contrast between Gwynne at 6 feet 5 inches and Pesci at 5'4" was already inherently comic without any amplification from the performance. Gwynne's bench-to-defense table framing produced visual comedy the moment the camera framed them together. Compare Gwynne's delivery in the earliest courtroom sessions to his behavior in the judge's chambers scenes. While Gwynne was building that calibrated performance, something else was literally slipping in Pesci's makeup every morning. Number 6. Pesci's appearance throughout the film reads as consistent and unremarkable. The reality required 3 hours of preparation every single day. Makeup artist Carmen Willis applied a rig of adhesive tabs hidden beneath a custom hairpiece that physically repositioned the skin of Pesci's face, pulling it taut in a manner similar to a non-surgical lift. The rig was designed to narrow the visible age gap between the two leads. Entertainment Weekly reported in April 1992 that some of the adhesive tabs slipped and snapped during takes, and a number of those shots remain in the theatrical cut. Compare close-up shots of Pesci in the early courtroom sequences to his profile in the later cross-examination scenes. The scene where Pesci most needed to be completely convincing almost destroyed the actress who made it work. Number 5. A technical failure with the film stock forced a complete reshoot of the tire testimony sequence. Tomei's physical orientation on the witness stand had to be entirely reversed, meaning every eyeline and directional reference she had memorized was now the opposite of what the camera required. She told an audience at Fan Expo Philly in 2024 that she cried on set and believed she had destroyed the scene entirely. Whitfield, watching from the jury box during that same reshoot, told Lynn directly, "Mark my words, she will win the Oscar." Watch Mona Lisa's eyeline during the testimony, and notice how precisely she tracks the jury, the judge, and Vinny in sequence. The Oscar that followed became the subject of a false story that followed Tomei for years. Number 4. The story that presenter Jack Palance announced the wrong name and Tomei's Oscar for Best Supporting Actress was a mistake circulated widely and is still repeated today. It originated in a March 1994 Hollywood Reporter gossip column. The claim is impossible on procedural grounds. 2 PricewaterhouseCoopers accountants have stood off-stage with backup envelopes since 1953, specifically to intercept misreadings, a safeguard the public saw used in real time during the 2017 La La Land and Moonlight correction. Tomei addressed it directly in her Saturday Night Live monologue on October 1st, 1994, and later described the rumor as very hurtful in multiple interviews. Watch the original broadcast footage of Palance reading the card. The casting process that produced Tomei's performance involved a studio preference that never reached the screen. Number 3. Launer's original pitch for the lead was actor Robert De Niro, based on De Niro's straight man performance in Midnight Run. The Fox president responded that De Niro was not funny and that his films did not make money. Danny DeVito was briefly attached as both star and director before departing the project. Peter Falk, Jim Belushi, and Andrew Dice Clay were also considered at various stages, with Clay representing Fox's active top preference until that deal collapsed. Lynn met Pesci for dinner in New York and closed the deal with a handshake. Watch Vinny's first courtroom appearance and consider how the physical and comic energy of any of those alternate choices would have reset every scene that follows. The film's biggest structural secret, however, lives inside the courtroom sequences themselves. Number 2. Underneath its surface, the film functions as a structurally accurate legal document. Judge Joseph F. Anderson Jr. documented that Mona Lisa's testimony follows the doctrine of experiential expert testimony, the principle that professional hands-on knowledge qualifies as expert evidence even without formal academic credentials. That doctrine was not established in federal law until the Supreme Court's 1999 Kumho-Tyer decision, 7 years after the film's release. Lawner built the testimony structure from first principles using Lynn's legal background, not from existing case law, and arrived at the correct legal conclusion before the court did. Watch the moment where the judge allows Mona Lisa's testimony over the prosecutor's objection, and notice the reasoning the dialogue implies. Everything that made that possible came from one decision made before production began. Number 1. The courtroom accuracy in My Cousin Vinny is widely praised, but its actual origin is almost never correctly identified. It came entirely from Lynn, who completed an MA in law at Pembroke College, Cambridge, before co-creating Yes Minister and moving into film. Lynn imposed a production rule requiring every procedural element to be technically correct, and he was trained to recognize errors other directors would have passed without noticing. Watch any cross-examination sequence in the film and trace the structure. Question, response, redirect, and objection handling all follow the correct sequence. A film that federal judges now quote informal opinions was built under a legal accuracy standard the studio never requested, the cast never drove, and almost no one involved ever received credit for establishing. My Cousin Vinny is a legally precise document that federal judges now quote informal opinions. The yutes line was scripted. The card trick was performed live. The Tyer testimony was rebuilt from scratch. The Oscar rumor was false from the start. Which hidden detail surprised you most? And what film should we open next?